Coming in, as you can see, we're going to have an interactive session. You'll see the signs posted on the wall. If you'd like to ask a question anonymously, you can from your smartphone or your tablet. All you have to do is text GAWP 067 and then put in 22333. We'll use this question to maybe ask a question of our award winner, or we'll use this question for our panelists at the third session. We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. I'm Cornell Sims, your incoming chair of the GAWP Diversity Committee. In early 2016, during one of our meetings, the committee initiated an idea on what we could do to recognize an individual, group, or organization that has created, promoted, or maintained diversity within the Georgia water industry. As a result of this idea, we are here today to celebrate our first Champion of Diversity winner, Gary McCoy. Our first session today, our first session today will feature, all right, I'm glad we're having fun, that's what it's about, right? Okay. Our first session today will feature a one-on-one conversation with our Champion of Diversity winner to hear his illustrious story of his humble beginnings to the leader he is now. The conversation will be led by our committee chair, Duncan. Duncan is a professional structural engineer currently licensed in 19 states. He is the structural lead of the engineering department of Suez Advanced Solutions. He has a BS in Applied Physics from Morehouse College, along with a BS and MS in Civil Engineering from the Georgia Institute of Technology. He serves on the AWWA Standards Committee on Steel and Composite Water Storage Tanks and the AWWA Diversity and Member Inclusion Committee. Duncan and Gary McCoy.
How's everybody doing? Good, so I'm first going to let you know a little about Gary McCoy. Gary is the Director of Water Operations for the Macon Water Authority, and we believe he's a fitting choice for the inaugural AWWA Georgia Section Champion of Diversity Award. From his humble beginnings as a janitor in the Cartersville water plant, he understood the importance of maximizing opportunities. Through his personal journey, which was long and sometimes challenging, he learned a couple of important lessons. He made the decision to pay it forward. When he began working at MWA, Macon Water Authority, it was his mission to create a team environment in which all persons could work together to produce quality drinking water. He began by creating integrated teams in each shift, which helped to build strong working relationships and fostered bonding and camaraderie. He was also instrumental in getting employees at all levels within operations involved in the AWWA Georgia Section and GWP, which allowed them to grow and gain skills in a variety of areas. So ladies and gentlemen, please again, give a round of applause for Gary McCoy. So here's my first question for Gary. Let's start with your humble beginnings in the Georgia water industry. How did you get the job as a janitor at the Cartersville water plant, and what was that experience like?
Well, in Cartersville, it was really only two things to do when you get out of school without a formal education. You get a job in a local factory, which I applied for and received, and I also applied for a position with the Cartersville water plant in a janitor's position. So when I was a lot smaller and enjoyed basketball, I loved playing it. So I took the janitorial position so I would have all the weekends free and weekdays. So that was my career decision, basketball.
Oh, that was great. Oh, great. All right, let's get a timeline here. How long were you a janitor? And what do you believe opened the door for you to move out of that position to your next assignment?
When I received that position, I was janitor about 4 months, And I remember, some in here know Gene Holcomb. And if you know Gene Holcomb, he really spoke his mind. And he was the director back then in Cartersville. So a position opened at the Cartersville wastewater plant, weekend night shift, and he asked if I would be interested. And I just said no because I enjoy playing basketball. and Gene said, Martin, you work with him. He said, Gary, how much money do you make playing basketball? I said, nothing. And he said, maybe you should sweep floors your entire life because you're too stupid to take a position where you can advance, then I don't need you anyway. So sweeping floors you should do forever. So after thinking about it for 10 seconds, I said I'll take that position. So that's how I went from the janitor to the Cartersville waste facility, and I got my Class 3 certification. I worked there for 8 years and I transferred back to the water treatment plant.
That's a great start. So let's think about this. From the janitor to the director of water. Obviously, that journey entailed a couple steps. And some of us are thinking, what kind of steps do you take to go from the janitor to director of water? Do you remember some of those steps? What were those steps? How did you get there?
A lot of praying by my mom was the first thing. Because when I actually took that position with the wastewater facility, I have to admit, a gentleman named Jim Stafford, who was the director, he was a big help in developing my career because I didn't know anything about labs. I didn't know anything about anything. And he, even though he was a director, he would take me in the kitchen downstairs every single day, educate me on basic wastewater, mathematics, and he was a tremendous help. I mean, he took time out of his busy schedule to actually get that one-on-one time with me. And I was shocked, and we have a bond today. And as I transferred back to the water treatment plant, I also had people in management to actually help. I can tell you my journey wasn't always great because sometimes you have certain people look at you because of the position you hold and look at you in a certain way. When I was sweeping floors, even though the ones who was using the facilities, the restrooms and all the kitchens, and I was keeping it clean, they didn't appreciate it. They wouldn't even hold the door open when I would take the mop bucket in. They would smoke cigarettes and just thump it on the floor or walk in there while I just mopped. And they didn't really see me as a man. They saw me as someone who should sweep the floors, and that's it. And I started getting a little more respect when I got that position, but I couldn't forget the ones who was doing it because they didn't change. The next person who would sweep the floors would get the same treatment, and that's one thing I never forgot. So I have to admit, even though I encountered some ugly people and doing some ugly things, it were people there to really help me because there's no way I could give you this song and dance how I worked hard, I just dedicated. That would be a lie. I think some of the hard work I put in with the help of others did it. So trust me, that's why I always believe when you get over that fence, throw the rope back and just pull it back over because you can't do it by yourself. No matter who you are, and no matter what education, your background, you're going to need help somewhere along the way.
Come on, give him a round of applause for that. Come on. I'm sitting here feeling all inspired. I want to be like you when I grow up. This guy right here. You started talking about people helping you along the way. I'm sure right now you could probably think of one or two people, maybe three, that you will never forget. They did something. They did something special. They opened a door. They gave you a word of encouragement, some advice. Tell us about a couple of those experiences.
Okay. As I mentioned before, the first person was Jim Stafford. He helped a lot. Well, Gene Holcomb for giving me that push, and then Jim Stafford. But it seemed like every step of the way, there was someone actually willing to help. even fast forward to the Macon Water Authority. When I left the city of Atlanta to actually take the position, I took the position as a plant superintendent. And Mr. Tony Rojas, who's our president, he actually promoted me from a water plant superintendent to the director. Now, my educational background is Cass High School. And there's not too many people who would have taken that chance on someone who didn't have the educational background. Now, I had the skills, I think, and I had the experience, but a lot of times they look at that. So he was a big help. I mean, I can tell you when my career really started taking off is when I joined this organization, because through networking, I met so many people to help. Because if it wasn't for this organization, and I'm being truthful, I would still be probably operator in Cartersville, because I had no drive to actually do more. And then once again, Jim Stafford said he wanted me to be part of it. So I got a position going out and being a plant inspector and looking at other facilities, and I said, wow, Macon and Columbus and all these other facilities. And I knew there was a lot more out there than Cartersville. I love it. I'll never forget what they did and the opportunity they gave me. But networking and meeting people such as yourself is really what boosted my career. So when you say a couple, I can just name a couple, but every single day I'm still meeting people in this organization that's continuing to help me develop. And I thought once I got this position, I had made it. But no, I'm making it every single day with the help of people like this. So you never stop. And I just appreciative of everyone.
Excellent, excellent. That's awesome. That's some good advice. Now, I want to start bringing it a little personal for some of us in the room. Don't point yourself out. Many people at the lower levels of employment in the Georgia water industry feel completely stuck where they are. Did you ever feel that way? And what lessons did you learn that you can share to encourage anyone in the room who feels that way right now?
Well, not to risk repeating myself, but I felt stuck. But I felt content because I had a job, I had enough to buy a car and party and all that, so I was stuck because I didn't think it was anything else. But the only thing they have to do is just reach out, because one of my good friends, Terry Cole, when she was president, her platform was leaders aren't born, they're raised, just raise your hand. And that's what I did, just raise my hand for the opportunities to actually go out and be part of this organization. And speaking, of diversity, I've had people of color, when I tried to get them more involved in this organization, they have actually told me, well, you represent us. And I said, that's the wrong attitude to have. This organization of 4,000 is big enough for all. Everybody, this should be so inclusive, everyone should take part of it. When I first started out in this industry, the only one I saw was people like Jimmy Knight, people like Mr. Bob Tant, Gene Holcomb, and that was who we looked up to. But then something started happening. They developed the Women of Water. Women started actually coming into this organization and playing a bigger role. And now, if you look around, it doesn't look the same as it did when it was in the 70s, and more people of color, gender. So I just encourage everybody, don't look at anyone, religious background or the sexual preference, anything, just invite them in. And you don't have to be afraid in this organization to actually raise that hand and be part of it, because we're not judgmental, we're very inviting. So the 30-odd years I've been in this organization, I have never, ever once felt that I was part of a token position to where we got Gary, there's no more. They kept encouraging me, and it's very vital. So I encourage everyone to actually be a part of this. And not only will it just help you career-wise, but Whenever you want to leave here and go to another state, you have built a type of relationships around with other organizations in the different states that you know, you can be successful anywhere.
I want to double back on something you talked about earlier. You mentioned your experience as a janitor, how people treated you, and how they looked at you. They didn't consider you a man, just considered you the guy who claims a place. I'm sure there were valuable lessons you learned during that season, at the rock bottom. What have you taken from those days that you still carry with you today as a leader within the Georgia water industry?
Like I say, I forgave, but I never forgot how I was treated. It was bad. And when I moved up in the rank and became a director, the valuable lessons I've learned is the janitor who's at the grounds, buildings and ground people at the water plant now, they love their family the same way we all love our family. They put on their pants or they dress the same way. And just because you're in a certain position, you're no better than them. Because if anyone ever been to that water plant, if you've ever been to the water plant, we got a gorgeous plant in Macon. Yes. And when you go through that big gate, you don't say, wow, this grounds look great. I bet Gary is great on that lawnmower. My building grounds people is on that. When you walk in that building and see those nice floors and everything, you ain't saying like, wow, the president of the company, Mr. Rojas, really shine. My janitor does that. When we receive all those awards and I get up in front of the board, I'm not running those tests. I might set the parameters in which we operate, but the operators actually do that. So how in the world can you not turn your back, sort of look down on someone who have picked you up? Because without them, I wouldn't do this right here. So the main lesson I learned is you got to treat everybody the same. You really do, because as I stated, just because someone isn't making double, you know, and got a title or got this position or they don't wear khakis or a suit, they're just as valuable. And the 215 employees of the Macon Water Authority, they wouldn't make that organization, not just our board, our upper management. So the lesson I learned is you can't get too high to where you think just because they're in a lower position you're better. So that's the lesson I will always learn, and that's the lesson I try to instill in others as they move up in the ranks of the Macon Water Authority. So take that buildings and ground person out to lunch. You don't have to always ask your supervisor to go out. You know, take that meter reader out and just let them know you appreciate it. You know, people in my position, we make well enough to pull out our wallet and just take our crew out for lunch. And like I say, you got to pay it forward. And that's what I always try to do.
That's excellent. Give him another round of applause. That's very encouraging. That's very encouraging. And I'm going to segue from what you're saying into the whole concept of a team environment. Since you've been at Macon Water Authority, it's been your mission to create a team environment. You consider it important for collaboration among our workers. Why is that such a big deal to you?
Because there's no I in team. You really need that team spirit. When I first got to the Macon Waters, took that position, I looked around and saw how the shifts were structured. And it reminds me, when I go to a conference here, I look at the luncheon, I tend to see everybody from Henry County sitting together. I tend to see Macon Water Authority sitting together. And the only thing they're going to be used to is their environment. And instead of just venturing out and seeing what others is doing within other organizations. So when I got to the Macon Water Authority, it was a two-person shift. And every shift, it was blacks on one shift, whites on the other. And like I say, there was no racial tension there, but the only thing they knew was what they was comfortable with. So the very first thing I did, I broke up the shifts. So for that 8 hours or 12-hour shift, you were going to be working with the people of color and someone, I just divided up. And after a year, they had bond friendship they never thought they would have. We have a lot more in common than you think. The only thing we have to do is just reach out and just tap someone on the shoulder and just ask, what are your interests? So now, I think by doing that, I built a better team spirit because we know about each other. We know each other's culture a little bit more. So, and just working hard as a team. And like I say, no one's perfect. Forgive mistakes. If it's not done blatantly, you know, you can forgive anything if it don't upset your system. So that's just build a stronger team spirit.
Excellent. Two interesting things you did that stood out to us amazingly. You provided opportunities for your operators to learn the Spanish language so they could better communicate with the Hispanic community served by your municipality. That's pretty amazing. Why?
Well, this is still an ongoing challenge. Okay, in Georgia, there's the population is over 10 million people, and 923,000 is Hispanic, 9% of the Georgia population. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to look around and you're going to see a lot more brown faces, a lot different. But this organization is going to change, and so is Macon. There's not too many Hispanics actually working for the Macon Water Authority. It may be due to the language barrier, and at the water plant, we take all the calls after hours. And as the Spanish population continue to grow and make a build, we want to make sure we are adjusting. So I had my supervisors to start investing in the Rosetta Stone and looking at taking online course, Spanish course. I'm not asking them to be fluent, but you want, one day, I'm hoping to see not only just blacks and white operators, I want to see Hispanic, I want to see people from all over. And so once we do develop that type of workforce, I want to be able to communicate well with them. So we're not there, but like I said, that's what one of the initiatives I've had, and we're working forward. So don't ask me about my Spanish. It's still a work in progress. I'm still doing the same thing. But I think it's important to everyone because, like I say, it's not, things is changing every day, and just reach out to the Hispanic community and all others because things, just like it was in the 70s, things have changed. Looking at us now, we're continuing to change, and we've got to continue to evolve and introduce different cultures into our lifestyles.
Excellent, excellent. Give him a round of applause for that. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I want to hear from you. So think about your questions right now. Does the interactive session technology work right now?
You want me to just read the question?
Yes.
Okay. Our first question is, what words of wisdom do you offer the upcoming young group of water professionals entering the industry?
Don't settle. Don't think just because you got a good job, you have made it. And there's room because I'm 55. I'm changing every day, except for my wardrobe. I had the same coat on up there. So I haven't changed. But in 15 years, I'm going to be in a little assisted living home, a little rocking chair, and it's going to be a lot of opportunities out there. So just because you get a position, and just because you think, hey, I got this nice home, I got this, I have made it, it's people out there that's real to just put that hand out there and bring it. So continue to be nosy, investigate, to actually look at the opportunities out there, and just don't be content to settle.
Thank you for that. The next question is, same like this. Okay, one question. Your humble beginnings is a story that can help so many young people. Do you feel that it can relate to today's millennials that may not want to start that way?
Yeah, that's a good question. With millennials that I hire, I know something that you have to actually change because a lot of time this job is too slow for millennials. They love to do things, they love to stay involved. And I know one thing I had to do is adjust my management style, because in the old days, if I walk by, you have a telephone in your hand, I'm gonna say, really? That's disrespectful. But now, the millennials, that's just the way they are. And you have to adjust to their style, because they can have a phone in their hand and run more tests than any of us could. They can multitask. But like I say, I want to encourage all millennials that even during that recession in 2008, when so many people was losing their job, I can count on one. The people in here in the water industry, our jobs are safe. They may not have filled positions, but this is a job that provides opportunity, not only just water, wastewater, and the water industry altogether. And with the scholarships that's actually offered by the GAWP and the AWWA, there's opportunity there. And this could be something they really could build on and a great career administrator in this organization.
That was the last question.
All right, good. And I'm going to ask this question that's been burning. It's on fire. So you've been working with the Human Resources Department at Macon Water Authority to ensure that diversity is not only achieved in your division, but throughout the authority. Why did you consider that to be so important?
Because at one time, Macon was under a consent decree because of certain practices. But the Macon Water Authority hired, years back before I came, a different type of management style. We got in good people. But there was still somewhat of the good old bar system. When you go for an interview, the person who's doing that may have their friend, and they still hire the ones that look comfortable working with. So with the Macon Water Authority, what we did is we have a diverse interview panel each and every time. We have people of color, you know, women, operators to the president. So with our diverse team, we can assure that we're going to have the best person, not just the person you're comfortable with. And so when I first got the director's position with the Macon Water Authority, I think I was the only person of color in our staff meeting. But now, if you look at our staff meeting now, it's totally diverse. And that's through our hiring practices. And I encourage all of those systems, when you do have interviews, don't just let one person conduct that, because he or she can hire who they think that they can work better with instead of the right person. So integrate, you know, diversify your, actually the panel, and it has worked out great for the Macon Water Authority, and that's why we more and more diverse each and every day.
And the final question I'm going to ask you, as the 2017 Champion of Diversity, what role does diversity and inclusion play in the future of the Georgia water industry?
Well, I can tell you, there's so much talent out there. But they're not just the talent of people looking like me and Ryan. There's talent everywhere. There's talent, as I said before, with certain different religions. There's so much out there that they can bring to the table. But we cannot shut them out. And I think diversity, just pulling that in, people from all over, all facets of life, no matter what, I think it's going to help this industry grow, because technology continues to change, and there's no telling how water plants will be operated in the next 15 or 20 years. But I can tell you this, including everyone, getting a more diverse team in, I think it's going to continue to, we're going to flourish. Things is just only going to continue to look up. So I continue to say, reach out and pull someone in. Just because they may not look like you, they still may think like you and actually do a great job. So that's what I have to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for Gary McCoy. Thank you very much. That was one-on-one.
Thank you, Donnell. Thank you, Gary. You make my job so hard as the moderator, I mean, I don't want to stop it. We have so much that he's given to us.